Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Legal Tender, back in the building, back in the vault. Pulled out some notes to make a new video. I want to thank everybody for the love and support of the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Got a whole lot of views, got some comments. If you have a comment or you leave a comment, I will respond back as soon as possible with the most educated answer that I have. If it's something that I do not know, I will look it up and make sure I give you the correct and accurate information as soon as possible. So if you're a fan of numismatics and a fan of paper currency, stay rocking with me, stay rocking with the channel, and let's get into it. Okay, so we already know every week will be something different regarding paper currency. So on this video, I will be speaking about a location that is near and dear to the hearts of all paper currency enthusiasts and numismaticians. So this video will be about the Department of Treasury. All right, so let's zoom in on that a little bit. And there you go. All right, so the Department of Treasury was created to serve as the National Treasury and Finance Department of the federal government of the United States. It is an executive department. The Treasury building is located at 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C. You can visit the Treasury building but at certain times, and so to make sure you make it there and get in with no problem, go to the website and register your visit. That way you'll be able to track the days that you'll be able to go there with no problem. Okay, so the Treasury was established by an act of Congress on September 2nd, 1789 to manage the government revenue. The first Secretary of Treasury was Alexander Hamilton, a statesman who appears on the $10 note. All right, I got him right here. Alexander Hamilton, not a president, but a statesman, and the first Secretary of the Treasury. He was sworn into office on September 11th, 1789. Hamilton was appointed by the President George Washington on the recommendation of Robert Morris. Morris was Washington's first choice, but Morris decided to decline the appointment. Hamilton was responsible for establishing the nation's early financial system, and for several years he served as a major presence in Washington's administration. Hamilton's portrait is on the obverse side of the note, like we have here. And on the reverse side, you have the Treasury building. Okay, so the Department of Treasury roles and responsibility. All right, so the department oversees the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in the U.S. Mint. These two agencies are responsible for the printing of all paper currency and coins, while the Treasury executes its circulation in the domestic fiscal system. There are several bureaus within the Treasury Department. 10 bureaus actually, which all handle different parts of the United States fiscal matters. Those bureaus are the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, BEP, the Bureau of the Fiscal Service, the Community Development Financial Institution Fund, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the Inspector General, the Treasurer Inspector General for Tax Administration, the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, the Office of the Comptroller, the Office of the Comptroller of Currency in the U.S. Mint. All right, so the Department of Treasury collects all federal taxes through the Internal Revenue Service. manages U.S. government debt and instruments, licenses and supervises banks and thrift institutions, and advises the legislative and executive branches on matters of fiscal policy. The department is administered by the Secretary of Treasury, who is a cabinet member. The Treasurer of the United States has limited statutory duties, but advises the Secretary on various matters such as coinage and currency production. The signatures of both individuals will appear on all Federal Reserve notes. And you can catch their signatures down here to the bottom left and here to the bottom right. Okay, so we'll zoom in on that a little bit. It's getting weird. Give me that signature. Zoom out. There we go. Okay, so the bottom left, you have the Treasurer of the United States. And to the bottom right, you have the Secretary of the Treasury. Both two different titles, both have two different scopes of responsibility. All right, so let's talk about the Treasury seal for a little bit. Okay, so there was two seals. Obviously, with this one being the old one. It's the old seal. And now we have the newer seal. Just looking at the two, you can already tell the comparisons and the contrast. Pretty much the images always stayed the same. The wording around the seal has changed, and the ridges around the seal as well. Yeah, all the words are in Latin. You know how they do with Latin and paper currency. Gotta have it in there. Okay, so like I say, the design pretty much hasn't changed over the last like 200 years. Okay, right here in the center, you have a chevron, and within that chevron, you have 13 stars that represent the original 13 states. Above the chevron, you have the scales of justice that represent justice. Up under the chevron, you have a key, and that key represents authority and trust. So those are the differences. This was, the older design was, some would say, a little ornate with a bunch of reefs included in it. Latin phrases, of course. And I'll break that down in a second. With the grace of God, I'm gonna try to break it down because, you know, my Latin ain't the best. Okay, so the Treasury seal, the color of the Treasury seal would change in correlation to what type of currency it is. All right, so a red seal is identified as a United States note, legal tender. Blue serves as a civil certificate. We have green on Federal Reserve notes. Zoom this out a little bit. We have yellow, and that would be on a North African emergency note. We have brown, or some say maroon, and that would be on a Hawaii note. And then we have gold, 4 gold certificates. Now going back a little bit, okay, to our current day seal, as we see that on the newer seal, we lost all the Latin phrases, and the only words on it are the Department of Treasury and the year that the Department of Treasury was officially established, and that is 1789. Okay, so in the year of 1778, the Second Continental Congress named John Witherspoon, Governor Morris, and Richard Henry Lee to design a seal for the Treasury and the Department of the Navy. Within a year, they was able to come up with a design or a seal for the Department of the Navy, but it was never documented that they was able to come up with a seal for the Treasury. The actual creator for the seal of the Treasury is a gentleman by the name of Francis Hopkins, and he was one of the original signers of the Declaration of Independence, and he also contributed to design. He also had somewhat of a contribution in designing the Great Seal of the United States. Fun fact about Mr. Hopkins, he was about that money as well. And in the year 1780, he submitted to Congress a bill for services rendered. So he was seeking payments for his designs of several flags, currencies, and seals, including one for the Board of Treasury. All right, so the earliest known usage of the seal was in 1782. This older seal. The earliest usage of this was documented back in the year of 1782, when the United States government was established in 1789. The new Department of Treasury seal is continued to be used on all official documents and on all Federal Reserve notes. All right, I know I've been bouncing back and forth between the new seal and the old seal, but on this part, this is where we're going to try to get into the Latin. All right, so the original seal featured more ornateness in the Latin inscription, the Cirrus Amir Septent Sigil, around the rim, as we see all around there. Okay, so here we go. The inscription is an abbreviation for the phrase the Sera America Septentrionalis Sigillum, which translate to the seal of the Treasury of North America. I'm glad we ain't got that one no more. And that's the last time I'm saying it. So here we go. All right. After nearly 200 years, the Treasury Secretary, Henry H. Fowler, approved a new and simplified version of the seal on January 29th, 1968. And this is what we have. Again, we lost all Latin phrases. And then at the bottom, we have the year that the department was officially established. And this seal right here was first used on the denomination of, on the series year 1966 on the $100 bill. So this is the first time the new Treasury seal was put on a note on this series year, 1966. Besides the color, I'm really glad that I got this note here. So, okay. So let's get into who created the National Treasury. The Department of Treasury was officially formed by the Treasury Bill HR-9, and that bill was passed on July 2nd, 1789. The bill was signed into law by President George Washington on September 2nd, 1789. And what the Department of Treasury does exactly is the Secretary of Treasury is responsible for formulating and recommending domestic and international financial, economic, and tax policies, participating in the formulation of board fiscal policies that have general significance for the economy and managing the public debt. Okay, so that is what the Department of Treasury does. We got Hamilton on the front. and the Treasury building on the back. All right, so all right, that's all we got for this one. The Department of Treasury. All right, till next time, keep it legal, keep it tender. Talk to you soon.